Hello and welcome. My name is Angelica. I am the co-director of the Specialized Center for Stuttering. And today I am here with Huri Schneider. I'm sorry for my bad pronunciation. Welcome and thank you so much for being here.
It's such a treat. Thanks for having me.
So, well, as always in this video podcast, I would like to please ask you to introduce yourself for those who doesn't know you yet.
My name is Uri Schneider. I'm a friend of Angelica and a big fan of everything she's doing. Um, I grew up, my father is Dr. Phil Schneider, one of the great pioneers, leaders, and continues to influence things through his life work and his career. I lead our private practice, which works, in person in the New York area, New York, New Jersey, and we also work online. We also have offices around the world. That's at schneiderspeech.com. And we have a wonderful small team of talented specialist clinicians. I also host a podcast and an app and a community for people who stutter, and also for professionals, speech language pathologists and students of speech language pathology. Transcending Stuttering is the podcast. You can check out A Very Familiar Person on episode 64, where we had the privilege to talk with Angelica. But great episodes with people who stutter, researchers from around the world, and really a place to listen to real life stories and also cutting edge research. So that's transcendingx.com. Welcome you to check it out. I also participate in research with Dr. Jerry McGuire and others through a position at University of California, Riverside School of Medicine. And I'm also a dad of 4 kids and a husband of one amazing woman. I think that's me.
And I would like to mention again about the podcast because I really believe that it's a very good one. Like many times when I don't know, in the car and I have like a long time to go and I just put your podcast on the train or things like that because it's a really good one. So I mean, if you can go to visit that website and find a really huge amount of nice podcasts and just yeah, it's really nice. So I really recommend that.
Thank you. I want to give a shout out to our Spanish speaking intern, Wilmar Echevarria. And Wilmar has gone through the episodes and has conveniently marked up the chapter markings and the timestamps. So if you want to listen to Angelica, the entire episode, you can listen to the whole episode, or you can zero in on specific chapters of interest. And we've done that for almost all of the episodes. So you
Yeah,
can listen anywhere you like to listen to podcasts, Transcending Stuttering, or you can go to the website and see those notes at transcendingx.com.
exactly. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's really good resource to share.
You can only do it together.
And well, today we are here to talk, of course, about stuttering, as always in these videos and this like this is our main topic. But today we are going to talk particularly in stuttering in teenagers. And I mean, I think the main goal of these videos is to share a bit information about how to work with this population because, of course, it's completely different working with a school age children than working with a teenager, with an adult, with a like each group is different. I mean, each person is different. So, well, I would like to start asking you this question. When we are working in therapy with adolescents, what usually tend to be the biggest mistake we make with this group? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think just to anchor all of us, I think it's such an important question and an important topic and often overlooked stage of life. We spend a lot of time talking about early intervention, we talk about school age, we talk about adults, but this group, they're not this or that. So the way I think about it is I kind of think of the cutoff as school age is somewhere 6, 7 years old till about 12 years old. And then 13 to 17, 13 to 18 around the world, it's kind of that pre-college. So high school years, there's something happening there. So we can call it teenagers or adolescents. So that's the age we're talking about. It's kind of like looking at a frog spawning. It's not an egg, it's not a frog, it's like a tadpole. It's like a different animal. And teenagers are kind of like that. They're not kids, but they're definitely not adults. They're not paying for the rent and they're not paying for therapy. So I think there's a piece of them that's like the younger version of the human, and there's a piece of them that's towing into the next stage of being an adult human. And so it's tricky. We can't expect too much of them, but we also can't treat them like school age kids. So I
Children.
think mistake number one is that we take childish approaches or approaches of therapy, or even just the way we talk to them, or the games and activities we select. And we take the same things we were just using with a child that was a much younger chronological age, much younger developmental age, much younger in their maturity. And we're taking the same things out, like Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and all kinds of very ABCs, and even the decor of the office is sometimes very kid friendly, but it's too kid friendly. I remember when I was a teenager going to my pediatrician, I was still seeing my pediatrician, who was my doctor since I was in diapers. There's an image for you, or sorry, but I needed to make sure that I didn't feel very comfortable being there. Like I wanted to be in a place where I felt like everyone around me is like me, and that the person treats me, you know, for who I am, the age I'm at. So I think the mistake we make is we treat a lot of teenagers like younger kids. And then the flip side is we expect, because they are bigger, they are taller, they have certain things about them that suggest they're more mature. We expect from them like we expect from people at work or from other adults. And while they have their wishes and their wants and their abilities, they're not yet adults. So we can make a mistake of treating them as this or that. And then the other mistake that I think we make is we talk about them. So we're talking to their parents and we're not really hearing their voice. We're not really listening to them. And something unique about a teenager is they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to feel like they are a person, that they matter. These are universal things, not just for people who stutter, but teens want to define themselves as different than their parents.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they want to know their parents have their back. So the mistake that I see too often is we don't talk to the teen. And one of the beautiful opportunities with a teen, while it's difficult sometimes to connect with them, but once you can create a line of communication with a teenager, you have someone who can tell you exactly what they're feeling. And sometimes it's hard to hold those feelings. You have someone you can talk to explore and to experiment and to listen. What have you been through? What's worked out well? What's been really annoying? What do you like? What do you dislike? So that's a benefit that we have just sitting in front of us when we're meeting a teenager. And I think too often we miss that, and we think we know best, and we just ask the parents and the therapists from the past, and we miss the greatest teacher,
Yeah,
person that we're
yeah,
sitting with.
I totally agree. And I would like to just to talk a bit more about that, because this is also something that had happened to me in my experience as a person who started going into therapy. I remember like being a teenager, and this specialist just talking with my parents and how she's feeling, what does she thinks, and I'm like, I'm here. You can answer to me. You can make a question to me, or I don't know, don't including us or including them in the process of I don't know. I remember when the speech pathologist wanted to give the results, it was like, Angelica, could you please wait us outside of the room? And I mean, it's not like I don't know, like preschool children or something like that. I can't understand what is going on. So it's like include a teenager as much as we can, because at the end, I mean, as you were saying, it's not, yeah, it's true that they are not adults, but they have a lot of cognitive skills already, and they can completely understand a lot of things. Of course, we can change a bit the way we explain it to the parents in order to make it more easy to understand for all the teenager too. um but I mean, yeah, we have to include it completely. Last week I'm working with a teenager, and something that I also noticed, because I mean, I was working with her and also thinking about this video. So I was like, I think something important is like or I mean that I noticed when I finished the session with her is like, we really need to work on that idea of be the friend of the teenager in therapy. Because if you don't like, I mean, if that teenager doesn't like you, if there's no that click, that connection, the teenager is simply not going to tell you anything. Like, if you treat him or her like a children or something like that, like, and he or she doesn't like you or things like that, it's like he's not going to tell you anything, or he's going to tell you the things that you want to hear. So it's like you really need to create that connection and to, I don't know, and to make them understand that whatever you're saying is going to stay in the clinic, it's not, and things like that, to make that person trust in you. I think that was also very important, that I was thinking after my session last week.
Totally. I'm sure the teenagers that come to you are very fortunate because you're very warm and you know the experience from the inside, and you're young. So those of us that are a little older have to work a little harder. I'm happy for a teenager, to be able to sit with you. I think um, it's probably easier for you. It's still effortful, but maybe easier than some of
Well,
us old fogies.
sometimes what I was also talking yesterday with Dr. Chris Constantino was the fact that sometimes being a person who stutters in therapy can help. Of course, that doesn't mean that if you're not a person who stutters, you cannot be a good stuttering therapist. I think we completely know that. But I mean, just like can help being a person who stutters in therapy sometimes too.
Look, everything can be an asset and a liability. It can be a superpower and it could be kryptonite. So if you don't know the lived experience, you don't know the lived experience, and you might be just talking out of a textbook. That's a handicap,
Yeah.
you know. So for someone like myself who does not stutter, I invest a lot of time, energy, intention to try to see things from the perspective, from the point of view, from the experience of people who stutter. In addition to being well versed and up to date with the best research and everything that I can study and learn and continue to travel to listen and learn from the best professionals and researchers on the planet. At the same time, someone who stutters has the inside story of the lived experience, and I think that's a tremendous asset. But it's not the be all and end all, right? The flip side of that is to make sure that one understands the facets of their experience and their journey and uses that as wisdom, but not as a projection onto the person that they're meeting. Everybody's different. Every stutter is different. Everybody's experience and journey and what they want and what they don't want, what they're ready for.
Yeah.
So,
People get a stutter, but the age experience is different. Very important to remember too. And well, another question that I had, talking about teenagers and stuttering, what are some things to help teenagers have a breakthrough, like different, that are different than children and different than adults? What could you share us about that?
great question. I think that some of these things are going to be, relevant for all the people we work with, and they need to be delivered differently. So I think number one, meet people where they're at. The teenager needs to feel that the clinician and the people around them are interested in understanding more about stuttering, care to know like what's coming up for this individual, not just what I saw on Uri Schneider's podcast or on Angelica's YouTube channel, which is awesome. But like, what's this person's experience? What's coming up for them? For example, bullying is a big deal. We need to keep an eye out for that. But not every teenager who stutters is having that going on for them. So we need to make people feel like we're interested in meeting them where they're at. Best way to do that is listening. So that's number one. I like to ask teenagers a few specific questions. One is, what was the worst experience or the worst thing anyone said to you? Maybe at home, maybe in therapy, maybe in class. It gives me an idea of what kind of traumatic experiences or formative experiences they may have had. It also helps me as a clinician, as a therapist, not to push those same buttons, not to press on those wounds inadvertently. Obviously, I want to help a person feel better, be better. But inadvertently, I might introduce something that I don't know what their past experience was, and someone else did it in a different way or used the same word I use in a different way, and it made a certain impression. So I let the person tell me what was the worst thing. It's also helpful because teenagers love to complain. So if you start off asking for something really rosy, they often clam up and give you resistance. But if you make space for resistance, you're like, that's surprising. They want to hear me kvetch. They want to hear me complain. This is good. Most adults don't do that. So
Yeah.
that's one tip. And then from there, I might ask, what was the most helpful thing that anyone has said or done, whether it was a therapist, teacher, counselor, whatever. And then I might ask them, like, what are your best hopes? What would your best success look like? You know, and how long do you think you want to be here? Like, do you want today to be a one and done? And you want me to talk to your parents and let them know that you really don't want to be here? Or you actually really do want help? And if so, like, what does that look like? And then I might ask them, like, what are you ready to do? And what are you not ready to do? And they're often puzzled by that because nobody asks teenagers what they're ready to do. They just tell them what to do. Like you tell a 3-year-old, here, I'll give you a lollipop if you do, you practice your R sound. Not saying the therapist should do that either, but the way we work with 3-year-olds is we kind of use these secondary extrinsic motivators, and we can get young children to pretty much do anything with the right sticker or the right stuffed animal or prize box. Teenagers don't get as excited about the same stickers. But you can use things like Amazon gift cards or other things that matter to teenagers. And then that becomes not only currency to motivate, but it shows that you're matching their interests with what you're doing in therapy. So I like to ask those questions. And then I like to ask, what are you not ready to do? And again, it gives them room to say, look, I don't want to do this all day, or I don't have to practice, more than an hour a day. I don't have much. Oh, an hour. I didn't even think I was going to ask you for an hour, or I don't want to be taken into a store and stutter on purpose. My last therapist pushed me to do that, and I really was uncomfortable. Now, obviously, we all know from the research, there's a value to that, but it's all about time and place and how we do it and at what stage in the therapeutic journey. So I've had many teenagers really relieve me and our team of having to guess what they're up for by asking them those very specific questions. And then I really try to go through asking the teenager, this is a quick and dirty assessment. Okay. It's not really dirty. That's just a phrase. But I would definitely give the teen the OASIS. I think the OASIS is one of the best ways to do your assessment. Obviously, you need to develop a treatment plan or a direction to begin with a person you're working with based on what you find in your evaluation assessment, both of which are ongoing, dynamic assessment. But the quick and easy way that I like to ask people is like, if there are 4 keys, these are from the framework that we use at Transcending Stuttering, like self-knowledge, how much do you know about stuttering? 2, self-adjustment. How skilled are you if you wanted to be at like modifying stuttering more, stuttering less? Like, do you know what makes you stutter more, what makes you stutter less, and can you fool around with that? 3 would be self-acceptance. How much are you able to tolerate yourself just as you are and see all the wonderful things about you side by side with the things that you're not so excited about? And 4, how skilled are you at self-advocacy, at letting other people know what's up, what stuttering is, what it's not, and how you want them to create space for you. So I asked them 1 to 10 on these 4 different dimensions, or I ask them, which of these do you feel the strongest at? And which of these do you feel you need to, beef up? And by asking them that, it's a very quick way to do person-centered care. And it's a very quick way for me to orient where we're going to dive in and what we're going to leverage. So if they have great strength in the strategy area, but they don't have a lot of tolerance of themselves or their stuttering, that tells me we might work on self-knowledge to understand more about stuttering and explore self-acceptance. On the other hand, if this young person says, I'm totally cool with it, I just want to have a little bit less effort. It is so effortful for me to talk on the phone or to present in front of class. I don't hold back. I do it all the time. I speak freely. It just takes a long time and it's effortful. For that person, I might lean more into strategy work and self-adjustment area and experimenting with that. So for me, those are really helpful ways to kind of have some breakthroughs with teens, very person-centered. And I think teenagers more than any other age appreciate really being respected, to have a voice, to have an opinion. And to your point, and I like to ask them, you know, is it okay if I loop your parents in on this conversation? Or I have some impressions I'd like to share. I'd love to invite you to decide, would you like to be present with your parents? Would you like to tell me what you want to tell me to tell your parents? Maybe you want me to even facilitate you explaining to your parents what you always wish they would know. So giving this person, this teenager, the respect, the dignity, and the value to really know that you truly are a partner. As you said, a friend, a partner, a guide, a doula, however you want to think about it.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoy many things that you said, and yes, I think a lot about just connecting with the person and respect. Don't treat him as a children. Taking care with the materials we use with them. I don't know if if you want to use a specific material, we need to adapt for teenagers, not just the same for school children. I don't know, with cars and I don't know, balloons, the colors, they will feel a bit, I don't know, like uncomfortable, and feel like that you're treating them like as children. So adapting those things, and try our best to make them feel comfortable, because if they feel comfortable in therapy, we will be able to know more things about them and to help them more. I feel that I don't know, sometimes I get a bit more exhausted after therapy with a teenager than with an adult, because it's like a lot of, I don't know, like connecting and trying to I don't know, but I mean, it's part of our work. And yeah, time flies, Yuri. um but yeah, I really enjoy our conversation. I'm sure that there will be more things to share, but well, time flies, and I just want to thank you again for joining me today. It was a really nice moment to talk with you.
Great to share the time, and thank you for what you're doing, and thanks for having me.
And well, thank you so much to everybody that is listening to this, and thank you. Until next time.